Hello guys, Charles here and welcome back to my channel. So we've talked about the pentatonic scale in quite a bit of detail on this channel. We've never gone through it completely thoroughly though in terms of its chord scales. I've mentioned in previous videos how by creating pentatonic clusters we can create some really nice voicings. So we're going to look through it a bit more thoroughly today and go through it a bit more, I suppose, methodically to make sure that we're covering all of the nice voicings available to us within the pentatonic scale. So because we're guitarists, we like to think of the pentatonic scale as a minor scale primarily. So we're going to think of all these examples as being based in D minor pentatonic today, which would be these notes: D, F, G, A, and C. Taking us back to D again. Now, as far as scales go, the pentatonic scale, having only 5 notes, it's got quite a lot of distance between those notes. So it doesn't work in quite the same way that the previous chord scales have done, where we've chosen an interval and stuck with it. So rather than thinking intervallically, playing in fourths or thirds or sixths or whatever, we're just going to pick a starting position and move that through the scale. So the first interval we're going to look at is starting on a minor third. And we've got to learn to move this through the chord scale on any string set. I'm starting here on the 4th and 5th string. And remember, with all of these, we're trying to play them as smoothly and legato as possible. And again, that's pretty difficult with the pentatonic scale because of how widely spread the notes are. Next up, we're going to start with a minor triad. So this one's starting on frets 5, 3 and 2 of the 5th, 4th and 3rd string. That one's quite a bit easier to play smoothly because, with the exception of the first chord, all of the other chords have a bar or a double stop on the middle 2 strings. So next, let's start on a minor 7 chord and move that through the chord scale. Now that we're using 4 strings, it's going to be increasingly difficult to keep that smooth, so really focus on that smoothness and that evenness. I find getting to this chord shape, which is conveniently in 2 positions here, we've got it on the 8th fret and up here on the 15th fret. Getting to that chord's pretty tough. I'm going to really work on that one over the next few weeks to try and get from here to here as smoothly as possible. It's really tough. So you probably want to practice that as well. Conveniently, we can start on this first chord, D minor 7, move to the second chord, back down, and then we can practice it down here as well. That's really tough. I haven't got that one down yet. All the way down there, really tough. So try that yourself, see how you get on. Like I said, I'm going to add that to my practice routine this week. Next up, we've got some lovely quartal harmony built within the pentatonic scale. So we're going to start here with a quartal chord, which is stacked fourths. Lovely open sound. We've talked about this quite a lot in the past, how to use fourths to create that nice minor sound. So do have a little look up here in the cards to check that out for yourself. For the penultimate chord there, 15, 15, 14, 15, I think that's probably easier to play with a middle finger bar on the 5th and 4th string than it is to try and cram all 4 fingers, 1 finger per note there. Joe Pass says never play a chord with 4 fingers that you can play with 1 finger. So the general rule of thumb there is use as few fingers as possible, and I think that really applies in this instance. It's just easier to get it that way. Now, what about fifths? Well, again, we can't really use fifths within the pentatonic scale because the intervals vary within the scale. But we can take this nice spread voicing here, which is just a minor 7 with a spread voicing. So it's going to be the same chord scale as the previous minor 7 chord that we used, but with a nice spread sound to it. With that one, it's tough to keep the spare strings from ringing, so make sure you're using any spare flesh possible to mute the unused strings. Now, I've saved the hardest one till last. I wasn't going to put this in because I can't play it properly, but that's not really the point. The point here is that I show you guys how to play it. If some of you may have far bigger hands than me, you'll find this one easy. I still need to practice this one an awful lot. I've kind of got it, but not in any fluid way at all. And like I say, the point of these chord scale exercises is to play them as fluidly and smoothly as possible. So I'll try and play it as best as I possibly can, but what you'll probably end up seeing is just my best take of each voicing rather than a smooth chord scale. Like I say, if you guys can play this chord scale, then this is as hard as it gets. Now, I chose D minor because this first voicing, which is the only one I can actually kind of play quite confidently. So in D minor, this is the lowest position we can play this and have to stretch, because if I was in C sharp, then I wouldn't need all 3 extra notes. So this is, if you can do it in D minor, this is as hard as these chords are ever going to be. And as you move up the guitar, they're going to get easier, obviously. So I'll give it a go. But like I say, you guys might be able to do this easily. It's really tricky for me, but I'm going to keep practicing it. So I'm going to shift my guitar this way because this helps, classical style, helps play these ones a little bit more comfortably. And let's just see what happens here. So increasingly easy as we move up the neck, as you can see. But that first voicing's nice and easy, 2 really tough ones, and then it becomes okay. So that's a really clear demonstration of just how wide this scale really is in terms of its intervallic structure. Those are so tough, those stretches. You will eventually get them. I can't do them today, but I'm not feeling like I'll never get those. I've never spent time trying to get those, which I really should have done. So I'm going to now make sure that I make that part of my practice routine. And just generally, chord scales are great for learning to move as smoothly as possible from one voicing to another. And remember, the point of these chord scales really is that you can use these in your comping and you can use these in your chord solo playing. When you've got one chord, you can move through its chord scale and add some interesting movement in there. So get these down. If you've got massive hands and you can play those last voicings really easily, then well done to you. The rest of us, we're going to have to do some practice on those. But like I say, I didn't want to miss those out simply because I can't play them myself. The whole point of this video is that it shows you guys how to do this stuff. If you did find this one useful, please do give this video a like, subscribe, ding that notification bell, and share with any of your friends who may also find this useful. And as always, I hope you're all doing very well, getting plenty of practice in, and I very much look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers!
Roll up, let me embed a story you'll never forget. A drip, drip, but drowning in debt now. You can't buy your way out, and I heard you find it difficult to cope well. Here by this bottle full of